Now let's discuss this further with political analyst Zakhele Ndlovu, who joins us now on the line. Zakhele, good evening. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. I want to take you back to a few days before President Zuma was arrested in July of 2021. Some of the tweets of Duduzile Zuma reflected at the time, and I want to read a few for you just to set the context and create and set the scene. On the 7th of July, she tweeted, "Cadres, we celebrate the imprisonment of the former freedom fighter President J.G. Zuma. Cadres, no retreat, no surrender in fighting white monopoly capital and their proxies in our leadership. Amandla," and associated with that were fist fire emojis that are commonly used on social media. And then she tweeted on the 8th of July, "Cadres, you have not failed President Jacob Zuma, but you will fail him if the fight for radical economic transformation stops. So our struggle continues from outside and we must intensify." She tweeted the day thereafter. And then the following day was the July unrest. And so she then had individually tweeted different places where we saw protests which then turned violent, which then turned into unrest breakout. Places like Ntuzuma, Eshowe, Harrismith, Pietermaritzburg, Cliffdale, Ladysmith, and the list goes on and on and on. And in each suite of those, she said, "We see you," associated with fire flame emojis once again. Does that set the scene for you as someone who was engaging in genuine political speech and genuine political protest? Or was that, do those tweets frame for you someone who was bent on trying to create an atmosphere of disruption, violence, and as the state now says, terrorism?
Yeah, okay, good question. Look, I think it could be construed as maybe trying to incite people. So there's that aspect of it. But then there's another aspect which says, look, there's freedom of speech. She can say whatever she wants to say. But at the same time, let us remember that these rights that we have, they come with responsibility. So if you're going to say things that are going to somehow be interpreted as somehow inciting people or inciting violence, then it becomes a problem. And also, let us emphasize the point that in South Africa, no one is above the law. So just because Duduzile is the daughter of the former president doesn't mean that she is above the law. But at the same time, we should also remember that people are presumed to be innocent until proven guilty. So, yes, statements could be interpreted as somehow trying to be like incitement. But, I think the courts will decide this matter and will know once they've reached the verdict whether or not where it's constituted incitement.
Yeah, I want to read you from this letter published by the Jacob Zuma Foundation this morning. In it, it says, South Africa has previously witnessed the state's repeated failures to secure convictions against President Zuma's son, Mr. Duduzile Zuma, who was unjustly dragged through courts on contrived charges ranging from the so-called state capture to tragic car accidents cynically turned into a criminal prosecution. Each of these cases collapsed under the weight of a political motive. Having failed to destroy the father and the son, the state has now turned their energies to the daughter. And I want to ask you here, Zakhele, do you think that there's any legitimacy to the claim that the Zuma family are the subject of political persecution using the justice system?
Look, what we know is that in the past, Zuma has played the victim card very, very well. Before he was elected president of the republic, he kept talking about how he was being persecuted. And also, let us also remember that Zuma has always felt that he is not the only one who has done wrong, that there are other ANC leaders who have done wrong things, but somehow the focus is on him. So I think what he's doing now, what the Zuma Foundation is doing now, is continuing with what Zuma has been saying, to say that he's being singled out, that he's the one who's being persecuted, and others are not being targeted. And there's a lot of people out there who sympathize with him simply on the basis that they think he's a victim of persecution. And the fact that he's been going in and out of courts even before he was the president and after he served his term as president, in the eyes of those who sympathize with him and those who support him, they think that maybe there is a point that he is a victim of persecution here.
Yeah. Zakhele, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your insights. Really do appreciate it. That's political analyst Zakhele Ndlovu.